it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm watching Meghan Markle's show, so, well, you don't have to. So really quickly, I think I'm just going to give you my first impressions of Meghan Markle's brand new Netflix series, With Love, Meghan, which premieres today. These are just all over the place thoughts that I've written down in my notes pad that I thought I would share with you. But I really quickly, it hadn't occurred to me, and I just connected with my friend, Dr. Tessa Dunlop, and this thought had not crossed my mind yet because I'm more of a marketing, PR, and analytics mind. I'm more of a, well, it doesn't matter. But Tessa is on the money here because what she said to me was the irony that Meghan postponed her show because California is on fire and now the world is on fire and she's releasing the show. The tone is just not right. And I thought, you're absolutely right. Like, I'm scrolling because there's this show does not keep my attention. I'm bored as hell. And I'm scrolling through the news and seeing Ukraine this, Russia that. And Meghan is making bath salts. And there's literally no, it is the most bizarre thing. She's making candles for the first time. She's making bath salts and complimenting herself. And Tessa's right. The world is on fire. This is not the time for Meghan Markle to be telling us why we need to take, 3 extra hours to be cutting up our fruit trays, or handwriting our menus, or yada, 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 yada. This is just, it's not the tone, there's a lot of fear out there right now. And this escapism is probably nice sometimes, but it's just this, it's a really tense time in the world right now. So props to Tessa for that point. I want to make sure I give her credit for that because I'm probably going to repeat it several times today. Because once she said that to me, I was like, you are so right. Now, here's a point I made on Good Morning Britain earlier today. And the person I was on with was like, what did they say? That's laughable. Okay. Now, Netflix wants people 18 to 39 years old. And why would you sign Harry and Meghan? For the return on investment. The ultimate objective would be that Harry and Meghan would attract new subscribers. You want to continue to grow your subscription base. And their target audience, we know, are people 18 to 39. They have 70 million monthly users on its most popular tier. Meanwhile, TikTok boasts over 1 billion monthly active users, with the majority of TikTok users between 18 and 34. That's Netflix key demo. TikTok is full of short, raw videos, primarily shot on mobile devices. Now, this is Meghan and an entire production crew in full glam taking TikTok content or a Pinterest board and expanding it into a half-hour long show, like this longer form content to a demographic that's developed a short attention span thanks to TikTok brain. It's a thing, you can Google it. To me, this isn't innovative, it's backwards. You and I could shoot this entire show on our cell phones without a production team, without full glam, without, a $6,000 skirt and heels on in the kitchen, with raw authenticity. And I think that we could have an equal, I think we could have an equal product, uploading that on YouTube and generating an audience. I think that that's a possibility. I think that none of these projects are original. Meghan making candles, Meghan making a fruit tray, Meghan handwriting menus. These are not original moments. The bath salts thing is weird, but mostly because I associate bath salts with people like eating people's faces off because they're quote unquote high on bath salts. I mean, that's a little unique. Congratulations. But I don't feel like the projects are unique or interesting, like I said, you can watch them in 30 to 60-second forms on TikTok by thousands of other creators who do add original spins or do add their own little quirks, or their storytelling is better, or their toddler shows up and wrecks it and it's adorable. You know, there are better ways to execute this. There are quicker ways to execute this in a world where our attention spans are so short. And when we demand authenticity and we demand raw, have you noticed how some of the most popular videos on social media are people just talking to you from the front seat of their car? And you're like, Jesus, I hope they're not going to drive anytime soon, because that's highly illegal. Some of them are driving. But people like it because it feels super real and authentic. Meanwhile, Meghan is done up to the nines, and she is everything's here. Let me get to my official notes. Some of my official notes. This is what I told Good Morning Britain: too controlled, too glossy, too produced. And that's, we demand more from people. We want real emotions. We just want real. Now, there are going to be people that say Meghan hasn't paid her dues in this space. She's not Martha Stewart, but she compliments herself constantly throughout this thing. Like when her makeup artist opens up I think it's preserves, and takes a bite out of it, she looks back at him and she's like, it's so good. I mean, she's like, those are from my garden. It's so good. Like, she's constantly patting herself on the back. Meghan Markle is Meghan Markle's biggest fan. So I'm so glad we finally found her. I've been waiting with bated breath to meet Meghan Markle's biggest fan, located immediately. And here's another thing that I believe in and that I've told you a couple of times. This is primarily a P exercise to change public perception, because Meghan's been labeled a bully for the last 4 years, most recently in the January issue of Vanity Fair. If you like Meghan Markle, you will appreciate this access to Meghan. If you dislike Meghan, this will not change your mind in any way, shape, or form. In fact, you might dislike her even more, because you'll be like, who has time? Who has time to do all of these things that this woman is insisting we do to elevate things? Like, who has the time to do this stuff in the real world? One thing she says is, the joy of hosting for me is surprising people with moments that let them know I was really thinking of their whole experience from morning to evening. This is an example of Meghan trying to tell us she's not the palace bully. I'm worried about you. I'm thinking of you. I'm concerned. I want to make your day better. I want to make your day great. That person can't be the palace bully, right? That's what I felt like that quote and that theme was about. Now, this show needs to be a success for Meghan's professional reputation. They have failed too many times in front of the entire world. Meghan has only had one commercial success for Netflix. And in that series, she's just ripping into the British royal family. And factually, several of the accusations were not true throughout that series. But Heart of Invictus, Live to Lead, bombed. Polo, not a success. Pearl, canceled before it even went into production. And most famously, Spotify, that and was nasty. That was not an amicable split. I will swear up and down, I don't believe that was an amicable split. I'll tell you why. Again, had Meghan decided to stay with Spotify, there were multiple different ways that she could have continued to monetize her podcast. She could have pursued sponsors herself, stayed on the platform, continued to create the content, and contacted Pepsi herself, or, I don't know, Raising Cane's. Clearly, this woman loves her chickens based on this series. But she could have contacted sponsors herself and said, would you sponsor my podcast for X amount of dollars? That, then she would have just done verbal ads. She could have done a subscription based where her fans could pay a monthly fee or a whatever fee so that they could continue to stay connected to her. There were multiple ways she could have just gone the generic Spotify route, where Spotify, as a regular creator, they would toss you some advertisers that they organized. So there were multiple ways for her to continue to monetize her Spotify podcast the reason that she didn't stay there was because it was not an amicable split, in my personal opinion. Um, when I was asked whether or not this would be successful or not, I do think that there's a morbid curiosity. Absolutely. There might be a moment where this series ranks the same way Meghan briefly dethroned Joe Rogan from the podcasting charts. But less than a year later, Meghan was no longer with Spotify. So ultimately, like, what does that really mean? Um, Again, it's that morbid curiosity. Also, I wish I could remember his name because he is mighty handsome. I was looking at this British actor who's on anything. I wish I could remember. He's on this show I'm watching right now on Apple Plus, and he's gorgeous. And I was looking him up, and I found a quote from him that said, being Netflix famous is really interesting because for like a week or two, you're everywhere and everyone's obsessed with you. And then you just completely disappear because something better comes along. So it's almost like that Andy Warhol quote, everybody's famous for 15 minutes or whatever. But it's so true. Like we go through these phases with Netflix. It's like, oh, Bridgerton, and Bridgerton's everywhere. And then it disappears for a really long time. We don't think about those actors. We don't see those actors anywhere. And then Bridgerton's back. Or it's just a series that, because Netflix can be so fickle with the way that they cancel things at willy-nilly, we can be obsessed with something that truly does disappear forever. So that fame is fleeting when it comes to Netflix, is my point. And I wish to God I could remember that actor's name, but boy, is he good looking. All right. Okay, so here's a quote I wrote down in my notes section. If you asked me to describe the Sussexes a year ago, it would be chaos, conflict, and unexpected twists. This is the opposite of that. Now, I wrote this down as Meghan Markle is calmly dealing with her bees. Meghan is calmly, she's talking to her bees. She's in the zone. The music is mellow. The show is the complete opposite of that, and that's intentional. I feel like she is just so desperately trying to shift the narrative here. And she's saying, like, look, I'm peaceful, I'm zen, I'm not the palace monster. I also think it's interesting that she speaks to the production staff off camera. By the way, I've done reality TV. You're not supposed to do that. It's like maybe there are other shows like hers where the person is talking to the production and camera people off camera. Like I don't know, I haven't seen them. I don't like watching a lot of reality TV, but I can tell you that you're typically not supposed to do that. And to me, especially when you think about some of the people that host shows like Rachel Ray. Rachel Ray's talking directly to you. Rachel Ray's so excited that you showed up today, and you and Rachel Ray are going to turn on that oven and create a masterpiece. It's not like that. Meghan is talking to the staff around her, versus talking directly to the viewer. And I wonder if that is also a strategy to dismiss the dictator in high heels stories. Look, I get along with my crew. Look, like I'm friendly. I'm super freaking friendly over here. I'm asking him his opinion. I'm wondering if he wants to try something. Or is it insecurity? Do you have an opinion? Do you think that, like, is she intentionally doing it so she looks more friendly? Or is it like that insecurity? Like, I don't know if I want to connect with the person that's on the other side because I don't know if I like the person that's on the other side. What if somebody's hate watching me? I don't know. That is my opinion, 3 episodes deep. Let me know if you've watched it, what your opinion is. Do you agree, disagree? I'm going to keep watching. You're going to keep hearing some of my commentary throughout the day elsewhere. But I think the biggest takeaway for me today so far has been Tessa, who said, this is not the time. You postponed because of the fires, and now the literal world is on fire. And I thought that's a really powerful observation. Very true that we're in a really scary time right now. And the last thing I want to think about is whether I want my beeswax candle to smell like peppermint, Not really the vibe. So let me know what your opinion is. Thanks so much for watching. Agree with me, disagree with me. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. A couple more episodes to go. So Thoughts and prayers.